The Maldives was everything I'd dreamed of. Crystalline waters, pristine white sand beaches, and luxury bungalows hovering over the ocean. The photos didn't do it justice. I stood on our private deck, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink, wondering how I'd gotten so lucky. 3 days into our honeymoon, and I still couldn't believe I was Mrs. Rebecca Mitchell. "Babe, can you come in for a second?" Tyler called from inside our overwater bungalow. "I need to talk to you about something." His tone made my stomach tighten. I took one last look at the horizon before stepping inside, where Tyler sat on the edge of our king-sized bed, phone in hand, looking unusually tense. "What's up?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. He ran a hand through his sandy blonde hair, something he always did when nervous. "So, my mum called. She's having a really tough time with the divorce and everything." I nodded sympathetically. Tyler's parents had announced their separation right after our engagement, which had been difficult for everyone, especially his mother Vivian. She's been crying every day, and I invited her to join us for the rest of the honeymoon. The words hung in the air between us. I waited for the punchline, but Tyler's expression remained serious. "You're joking, right?" I finally managed. "I already booked her flight. She lands tomorrow morning." My legs felt weak as I sank onto the bed beside him. "Tyler, this is our honeymoon. You know, the special trip couples take to be alone after they get married. It's just that she's been so sad. Becca. Dad left her for his 27-year-old assistant. 27. She needs a break from reality, and I thought this would cheer her up. So take her on a mother-son trip next month. This is our time. You didn't even discuss it with me first." Tyler's jaw tightened. "I knew you'd say no." "But she's my mother, Rebecca. What was I supposed to do? Tell her to just deal with it alone while we're living it up in paradise?" I stared at him, disbelief washing over me. "Yes, that's exactly what you were supposed to do, or at least talk to me before making this decision. The reservation is already made. She'll have her own bungalow at least." "How generous of you," I said, unable to keep the sarcasm from my voice. "Does she know this is our honeymoon?" Tyler nodded. "Of course, but she promised to give us space." I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that surprised even me. Vivian Mitchell had never given us space in the 3 years Tyler and I had been together. She called multiple times a day, dropped by unannounced, and had opinions about everything from our furniture to my career choices. Even our wedding had become the Vivian show, with her vetoing my choices at every turn while Tyler stood by, unwilling to confront her. "You should have asked me first," I said quietly. "I'm sorry, I just couldn't say no to her." Tyler reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "I need some air." I grabbed my room key and headed for the door. "Don't be like this, Becca. It'll be fine. You'll see." I didn't respond as I closed the door behind me. The sun had almost disappeared now, leaving only a faint glow on the horizon. I walked along the wooden pathway connecting the bungalows, trying to process what had just happened. The thing was, I shouldn't have been surprised. Throughout our relationship, Tyler had always put his mother first. I'd convinced myself that would change after we got married, that he would finally see us as a unit, a team whose needs came before others. But 3 days into our marriage, and I was already being pushed aside for Vivian. I stopped at the end of the walkway, staring out at the darkening ocean. My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably Tyler wondering where I'd gone. Instead, it was a text from my best friend Lauren. "How's paradise with your hunky new hubby? Sending margarita vibes." I couldn't bring myself to respond. How could I explain that my dream honeymoon had just been hijacked by my mother-in-law? That the man I'd just promised to spend forever with had made a major decision without consulting me? That I was standing alone on a dock in the Maldives, wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake? As the stars began to appear overhead, a realization settled over me, cold and certain. On our honeymoon, I realized it wasn't going to work out, because Tyler would always put his mother before me. The question was, what was I going to do about it? I returned to our bungalow an hour later, having walked the entire resort twice. Tyler was sitting exactly where I'd left him, scrolling through his phone. "She lands at 9:30 tomorrow," he said without looking up. The resort is sending a car to pick her up from the airport. How much did her bungalow cost? I asked, thinking of our carefully budgeted honeymoon fund that had taken us 2 years to save. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. About the same as ours. But it's fine. I used the emergency credit card. The emergency credit card with the 24% interest rate, the one we'd promised to use only for actual emergencies. Your mother's post-divorce blues don't constitute an emergency, Tyler. She's family, Rebecca. What would you have me do? Talk to me first. That's what partners do. They discuss major decisions together, especially ones that impact something as important as their honeymoon. Tyler finally looked up, his blue eyes narrowing. You're being selfish. My mom is going through hell right now. And I'm trying to enjoy my honeymoon with my new husband. How does that make me selfish? You've always been jealous of my relationship with her. I laughed incredulously. Jealous? No, Tyler. I'm frustrated that your mother controls our lives and you let her. I'm angry that you made a unilateral decision about our honeymoon without even asking me. And I'm scared that this is what our marriage is going to be like. Me always coming second to Vivian. Tyler stood up, towering over me at his full 6'2". That's not fair. I love you, but she's my mother. And I'm your wife. Or did you forget the vows we made 3 days ago? The ones about forsaking all others? That's about fidelity, not about supporting family during tough times. It's about putting our marriage first, I insisted. Something you seem incapable of doing. Tyler's phone buzzed, and he glanced down at it immediately. It's Mom. She's at the airport already. She took an earlier flight. My heart sank. She's coming tonight. It's almost midnight. He nodded, already typing a response. She couldn't sleep, so she switched to an earlier flight. She'll be here in about 3 hours. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Punched. Not only was my mother-in-law crashing our honeymoon, but she was arriving in the middle of the night, ensuring maximum disruption. I need to go meet her at the main dock, Tyler said, pocketing his phone. Will you come with me? The pleading look in his eyes nearly broke my resolve, but I shook my head. No, Tyler. I won't pretend I'm okay with this. You go welcome your mother to our honeymoon. I'm going to bed. As he left, I slipped under the covers of our honeymoon bed, tears stinging my eyes. I thought about calling my own mum, but what would I say? That 3 days into my marriage I was already questioning everything. That the red flags I'd ignored about Tyler's relationship with his mother were now waving directly in my face. Instead, I lay awake, listening to the gentle lapping of waves against the stilts of our bungalow, wondering how different this night should have been. We should have been wrapped in each other's arms, whispering about our future, making love in our private paradise. Instead, my husband was fetching his mother from the dock at 2 a.m. Tyler didn't return until almost 4 in the morning. I pretended to be asleep as he quietly entered the room. Becca, he whispered. You awake? I kept my breathing steady, unwilling to talk. Mum's settled in her bungalow. It's 3 down from ours. She's so excited to see you tomorrow. He paused. I know you're upset, but please try to understand. She needs this. He slipped into bed beside me, not attempting to touch me. Within minutes, his breathing deepened as he fell asleep, apparently unburdened by the tension between us. I stared at the ceiling, watching shadows play across it as the moon moved through the sky. In the quiet darkness, I made a decision. I would try to salvage what was left of our honeymoon. I would be civil to Vivian. I would attempt to carve out private time with Tyler. But when we returned home, we needed to have a serious conversation about boundaries and whether our marriage could survive without them. Morning came too quickly, sunlight streaming through the gauzy curtains of our bungalow. I'd managed maybe 2 hours of fitful sleep. Tyler was already up. Showered and dressed when I opened my eyes. Morning, beautiful, he said, leaning down to kiss my forehead. Mum's waiting for us at breakfast. She's excited to see you. I bit back a sharp response. Give me 20 minutes to shower and get ready. Hurry up, okay? She's been up since 5 a.m. with jet lag. I took my time in the shower, letting the hot water wash over me as I mentally prepared for facing Vivian. By the time I emerged, Dressed in a sundress and with minimal makeup, Tyler was pacing impatiently. "Finally," he said, checking his watch. "Mum's been texting. She's already ordered for us." Of course she had. Vivian always ordered for Tyler, claiming to know his preferences better than anyone, including me. The walk to the resort's main restaurant was tense, Tyler striding ahead while I lagged behind, taking in what should have been a romantic path lined with tropical flowers and offering glimpses of the turquoise ocean. We spotted Vivian immediately upon entering the open-air dining area. She was seated at the best table, overlooking the water, waving enthusiastically. At 58, Vivian Mitchell was still striking, with the same blonde hair as Tyler, helped by regular salon visits, and a slim figure maintained through what she called careful eating, but what I recognised as constant dieting. "There's my boy!" she exclaimed as we approached, standing to embrace Tyler in a hug that lasted several seconds too long. She patted his cheek affectionately before turning to me. "And Rebecca, don't you look comfortable?" Her gaze swept over my sundress with poorly concealed disapproval. I forced a smile. "Good morning, Vivian. How was your flight?" "Dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. The service isn't what it used to be, but seeing my tie-tie makes it all worthwhile." She looped her arm through Tyler's as we sat down. "I ordered you the egg white omelette, darling. You know you have to watch your cholesterol. Just like your father." Tyler nodded gratefully. "Thanks, Mom. And Rebecca, I wasn't sure what you'd want, so I got you some fruit." A small plate of sliced melons sat at my place setting. Just fruit. No protein, no bread, nothing substantial for what I'd hoped would be a fortifying breakfast before a day of snorkeling. "Thank you," I said tightly. "I'll just flag down the waiter and order something else to go with it." "Oh, don't be difficult, dear. The fruit here is divine. And anyway, that swimsuit you wore yesterday was looking a tiny bit snug, wasn't it?" Tyler choked on his water. "Mum, come on." Vivian raised her hands in mock surrender. "I'm just looking out for her. That's what mothers do." "I'm going to order some eggs," I said, signalling to a nearby server. "Would anyone else like anything?" Vivian launched into a detailed account of her flight drama while I ordered a proper breakfast. When my eggs Benedict arrived, she eyed the hollandaise sauce with naked judgment, but continued her story without missing a beat. And then this woman had the nerve to ask me to switch seats with her so she could sit with her husband. On my first vacation after that man left me for a child. She dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. "You can't imagine how difficult this has been, Rebecca. Thank goodness my son knows what family loyalty means." Tyler squeezed his mother's hand across the table. "We're glad you're here, Mum." I concentrated on my food, not trusting myself to speak. "So, what shall we do today?" Vivian asked brightly. "I thought perhaps that couple's massage I saw advertised. They could squeeze in a third, I'm sure." "Actually," I interjected, "Tyler and I had already booked a private snorkeling excursion for this morning. It was meant to be, romantic." Vivian's face fell dramatically. "Oh, I see. Well, I'll just sit on the beach alone then. It's fine. I'm used to being abandoned." Tyler immediately looked stricken. "Mom, no, you won't be alone. I'm sure they can add another person to the snorkeling trip." "But it's a couple's excursion," I emphasised. "For couples, on their honeymoon." "It'll be fine," Tyler insisted, already pulling out his phone. "I'll call the activities desk right now." And just like that, our romantic snorkeling trip became a threesome activity. Vivian made a show of offering to stay behind, all while making it clear that doing so would devastate her. Tyler, predictably, fell all over himself reassuring her. The snorkeling itself should have been magical. The Maldives boasted some of the world's most spectacular coral reefs, teeming with colourful fish and even the occasional sea turtle. But Vivian clung to Tyler the entire time, claiming she wasn't a strong swimmer, despite having mentioned her regular pool aerobics classes at home. She shrieked dramatically whenever a fish came near her, causing Tyler to constantly check on her while I drifted further away, trying to salvage some enjoyment from the experience. "Isn't this fun?" Tyler called to me at one point, his arm firmly around his mother's waist as she clung to him in the gentle water. I raised my snorkel mask. "Incredible," I replied flatly, before submerging again to watch a parrotfish nibble at the coral, alone. That evening, Vivian invited herself to dinner with us at the romantic beachside restaurant where I'd booked a special table weeks in advance. The restaurant had been understanding about adding a third person, but the intimate table for two with candles and flowers now accommodated a third wheel who dominated the conversation. And then Rebecca's mother insisted on those ghastly centerpieces, Vivian was saying, recounting perceived slights from our wedding planning. I told her they looked like something from a discount funeral home, but she wouldn't budge. My mother paid for the flowers, Vivian, I reminded her, and the centerpieces were lovely. If you like that sort of thing, I suppose, she sniffed. Tyler, darling, try this lobster. It's divine. She speared a piece from her plate and held it out to him. To my disbelief, my husband leaned forward and let his mother feed him from her fork. In the flickering candlelight, I watched this bizarre scene unfold and felt something harden inside me. This wasn't normal. None of this was normal. Excuse me, I said, placing my napkin on the table. I need some air. Neither of them seemed particularly concerned as I walked away, their conversation continuing without interruption. I made my way to the water's edge, slipping off my sandals to feel the cool sand between my toes. The moon was nearly full, casting a silver path across the gentle waves. Honeymooners strolled hand in hand along the beach, stopping occasionally to embrace or take photos against the picturesque backdrop. Normal couples, enjoying their normal honeymoons without their mothers-in-law in tow. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. Where'd you go? Mum wants to order dessert. Not, I miss you, or come back, just Vivian's dessert order. I didn't respond, continuing my solitary walk down the beach until I reached a small beach bar where a few guests were enjoying evening cocktails. I took a seat at the bar, ordered a piña colada, and tried to figure out what to do next. You look like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders, the bartender commented as he placed my drink in front of me. His name tag read, Amir. I offered a weak smile. Just honeymoon troubles. Ah. First fight? It happens to the best couples. Not exactly, I sighed. My mother-in-law surprised me by joining us on our honeymoon. My husband invited her without asking me. Amir's eyebrows shot up. That's unusual. Tell me about it. I took a long sip of my drink. I don't know what to do. Am I overreacting? I've worked at this resort for 7 years, Amir said, wiping down the bar. I've seen thousands of honeymooners. Never once have I seen one bring their mother. So no, I don't think you're overreacting. His validation was surprisingly comforting. The thing is, this isn't new behaviour. He's always put her first. I thought marriage would change that. Marriage doesn't change people, Amir said wisely. It just reveals who they truly are. I pondered his words as I finished my drink, then ordered another. By the time I returned to our bungalow, it was past midnight. Tyler was waiting up, looking worried. Where have you been? I've been texting you for hours. I checked my phone. 3 texts, all variations of Mum wants to know where you are. I went for a walk, then I had a drink at the beach bar. Alone? Becca, that's not safe. I was perfectly safe, and I needed space. Tyler ran his hands through his hair. Look, I know this isn't ideal, but can't you try a little harder with Mum? She's going through a lot. So am I exclaimed. I'm on my honeymoon with a man who seems to have married both me and his mother. This isn't normal, Tyler. You're being dramatic. Mum's just needy right now because of the divorce. She's been needy the entire time I've known you. She calls you multiple times a day. She has opinions about everything we do. She inserted herself into every aspect of our wedding planning. And now she's here, on our honeymoon, because you can't set a boundary with her. Tyler's face hardened. You don't understand our relationship. No, I don't. Oh. Because it's not normal. It's not healthy. She raised me by herself after Dad started working 100-hour weeks. She sacrificed everything for me. I owe her. You don't owe her your marriage, Tyler. I sat on the edge of the bed, suddenly exhausted. What about the plans we made for this trip? The private dinner on the beach? The sunset cruise? Are those all going to become group activities too? Tyler looked uncomfortable. Actually, Mom mentioned that she'd love to do the sunset cruise. I was going to ask you if that would be okay. I stared at him, speechless. The sunset cruise had been my special request for our honeymoon, a private sailing experience where we would watch the sunset, have dinner on board, and spend hours alone together on the water. No, I said finally. No, that's not okay. That was supposed to be for us. We can book another one, Tyler suggested, or maybe all go together. Mum would absolutely love it, and it would mean so much to her right now. In that moment, watching my husband plead on behalf of his mother, something shifted inside me. The man I'd married wasn't ready to be a husband. He was still a son first and foremost, and his loyalty would always lie with Vivian. I'm going to bed, I said quietly. We can talk more tomorrow. But as I lay beside Tyler that night, listening to his even breathing, I wondered if there was anything left to talk about. The patterns were clear, established long before I came into the picture. I had simply been foolish enough to believe that marriage would change them. The next morning, I woke to an empty bed and a note from Tyler. Having breakfast with Mum. Come join when you're up. I took my time getting ready, mentally preparing myself for another day of the Vivian show. When I finally made my way to the restaurant, I spotted them immediately, heads close together, laughing over some private joke. They looked like a couple, comfortable and intimate in a way that made my stomach turn. There she is, Vivian called out as I approached. We were just talking about you, dear. All good things, I hope, I said, taking the empty seat. Of course, Tyler assured me, reaching for my hand. I let him take it but felt no comfort in his touch. Mum and I were just discussing today's plan. We thought we might do the spa this morning, then that glass-bottom boat tour in the afternoon. Actually, I said, extracting my hand from his, I've made other plans for myself today. They both looked surprised. What plans? Tyler asked. I booked myself a scuba diving lesson. It's something I've always wanted to try. But you never mentioned that before, Tyler protested. There are a lot of things I haven't mentioned, Tyler. I turned to Vivian. You two enjoy your day together. I'm sure you have a lot to catch up on. Vivian's eyes narrowed slightly. That's very independent of you. Rebecca, though I'm not sure it's wise for a woman to go diving alone. I won't be alone. There's an instructor and a small group. I stood up. My lesson starts in 30 minutes, so I should get going. But, Tyler began. Have a nice day, you two, I said, walking away before either could protest further. The scuba lesson was exactly what I needed, focusing on breathing techniques and equipment checks, left no room for dwelling on my marital problems. For 3 blessed hours, I was free from the Tyler and Vivian dynamic, floating weightlessly among colourful coral and curious fish. When I returned to our bungalow to shower and change, there was another note from Tyler. Mum wasn't feeling well, taking her to the resort doctor. Meet us at the medical centre. I crumpled the note and tossed it in the trash. Whatever illness Vivian had concocted, and I was certain it was concocted, I wasn't going to play along. Instead, I texted Tyler. Hope she feels better. I'm going to rest before dinner. His response was immediate and predictable. How can you be so selfish? She might be really sick. I turned off my phone and lay down on the bed, staring at the ceiling fan as it rotated lazily above me. The situation was clear now. I had 2 choices. I could continue fighting a battle I couldn't win, trying to compete with Vivian for Tyler's attention and loyalty. Or I could accept that this wasn't the marriage I wanted, cut my losses, and move on. The thought of divorce just days after our wedding was both terrifying and strangely liberating. We hadn't even unpacked the wedding gifts waiting at home. We hadn't changed my name on any official documents yet. A clean break would be painful, but relatively uncomplicated. There was a third option, of course. I could resign myself to a marriage where I would always come second to my mother-in-law, where major decisions would be made without my input if Vivian had needs or wants that conflicted with mine, where family holidays, vacations, and even our honeymoon would be shared with the third person in our marriage. Some women did it. I'd seen friends accommodate intrusive in-laws, biting their tongues and making the best of difficult situations for the sake of keeping the peace. But I didn't want that life. I deserved better. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. I opened it to find Tyler, looking concerned. "Mum's okay," he said without preamble. "Just dehydrated and a bit of heat stroke. The doctor gave her some fluids and told her to rest." "I'm glad she's all right," I said, stepping aside to let him in. "You could have come to the medical centre." His tone was accusatory. "I could have, yes." "She asked for you." "I'm sure she did." Tyler sat heavily on the bed. "What's going on with you, Becca? You're being so cold." I leaned against the wall, crossing my arms. "I'm protecting myself." "Tyler, this isn't the honeymoon I expected or wanted. It's not the marriage I thought I was entering into. It's just a rough patch. Mum needs us right now." "No, Tyler, your mum needs you, and you've made it clear that her needs come before our marriage." He looked genuinely confused. "Why can't I care for both of you?" "You can. But there needs to be boundaries, healthy ones, and you've shown me that you're either unwilling or unable to set those boundaries with your mother. So what are you saying?" His voice had an edge of panic now. I took a deep breath. "I'm saying that I'm not sure this marriage is going to work. I love you, Tyler, but I can't be in a relationship where I'm constantly competing with your mother for priority in your life. You're overreacting. It's just a honeymoon." "It's not just the honeymoon, it's everything. The way she inserted herself into our wedding planning, the way she calls you multiple times every day, the way you consult her on decisions that should be between us, the way you invited her on our honeymoon without even discussing it with me first." Tyler stood up, pacing the room. "So what? I should just abandon her when she needs me most. What kind of son would that make me? Being a good son doesn't mean you can't also be a good husband. It's about balance, Tyler, and right now there is no balance." He stopped pacing, his face hard. "I think you're being unfair and selfish. Maybe I am being selfish, but this is my life too, and I deserve a partner who puts our relationship first. I can't believe we're having this conversation. We've been married for less than a week." "I know, and I'm heartbroken about it." My voice cracked slightly. "This isn't what I wanted, Tyler. I wanted us to have a beautiful honeymoon, to start our marriage on the right foot. But your mother is here, in our private paradise, and you don't even see a problem with that." Tyler's phone buzzed, and I watched as he automatically reached for it, checking the screen. "It's Mum. She's asking if we can have dinner in her bungalow tonight. She's still not feeling well." I laughed, a hollow sound that echoed in the room. "Of course she is, and of course you'll say yes. She's sick, Becca. She's manipulating you. Tyler, like she always does." I moved toward the door. "Go have dinner with your mother. I'll fend for myself tonight." As I reached for the door handle, Tyler caught my arm. "Don't walk away from me. We need to figure this out." "There's nothing to figure out. You've made your choice very clear." I gently removed his hand. "I'm going to have dinner alone, and then I'm going to think about what I want to do next. I suggest you do the same." I spent that evening at a different restaurant, as far from Tyler and Vivian's bungalows as possible. I ordered a bottle of wine and a seafood platter, treating myself to the kind of dinner I should have been enjoying with my new husband. As I ate, I watched other couples at nearby tables, holding hands, sharing bites of food, looking into each other's eyes as if no one else existed. The kind of honeymoon I should have been having. My phone remained off. Whatever Tyler and Vivian were doing, I didn't want to know. For one night, I wanted to pretend I was just a woman on vacation, enjoying the beauty of the Maldives, without the complications of a mother-in-law from hell and a husband who couldn't cut the apron strings. After dinner, I walked along the beach, watching the stars and listening to the gentle rhythm of the waves. The resort was beautiful at night, lit by soft lamps that cast a warm glow on the paths between bungalows. In another life, another honeymoon, I would have been walking hand in hand with Tyler, maybe stopping for kisses under the moonlight. Instead, I was alone, contemplating the end of a marriage that had barely begun. When I finally returned to our bungalow, Tyler was waiting up, sitting on the deck with a glass of whiskey. "You're back," he said, his voice slightly slurred. I was getting worried. "I'm fine. I moved past him toward the door. Wait, please, can we talk? I hesitated, then sat in the chair opposite him. How's your mother? She's better, resting. He took a sip of his drink. I've been thinking about what you said. And? And I think you're being unfair. But I also think I could have handled this better. He leaned forward, eyes earnest in the dim light. I should have talked to you before inviting Mum. That was wrong of me. It was a small concession, but more than I'd expected. Yes, it was. But I still think you're overreacting. It's not like she's staying in our bungalow. She has her own place, and we still have time together. When? When do we have time together, Tyler? Every meal, every activity, she's there. And when she's not physically present, she's texting you, calling you, making demands on your attention. He sighed heavily. She's going through a hard time. I understand that. But that doesn't give her the right to hijack our honeymoon. I leaned back in my chair, suddenly tired. Do you know what I did tonight? I sat alone in a restaurant, watching other couples enjoying their honeymoons. Couples who got to be alone together, without a parent chaperoning their every move. Tyler had the grace to look uncomfortable. I'm sorry you felt alone. I am alone, Tyler. Even when we're together, I'm alone because your attention is divided. Always. He finished his whiskey in one gulp. What do you want me to do? Send her home? I considered this. Actually, yes, that would be a start. His eyes widened. I can't do that. It would devastate her. Then I don't know what to tell you, because I can't continue like this. We sat in silence for several minutes, the only sound the gentle lapping of waves against the stilts of our bungalow. Finally, Tyler spoke. What if we compromise? Mum stays, but we set some boundaries. Certain activities just for us, private dinners, she'll understand. I doubted very much that Vivian would understand or respect any boundaries, but it was a start. We can try that. Great. Tyler looked relieved. Tomorrow night, just you and me for dinner, I promise. I nodded, too exhausted to argue further. We went to bed without touching, a careful distance maintained between us. The next morning, I woke to find Tyler already gone again. Another note. Having breakfast with Mom. She had a rough night. Join us when you're up. So much for boundaries. I skipped breakfast altogether, choosing instead to book myself another activity, a paddleboarding lesson. Anything to avoid another meal with Vivian's thinly veiled insults and Tyler's obliviousness. When I returned, sunburnt and tired but mentally refreshed, Tyler was waiting in our bungalow, looking agitated. Where have you been? I've been calling you for hours. My phone was in my bag, I was paddleboarding. I set down my things. What's wrong? Mum got the call about Dad's divorce settlement. It's not good, she's really upset. I bit back a sarcastic comment. I'm sorry to hear that. She wants to cut the trip short and go home to deal with it. We should probably go with her. I stared at him, disbelief washing over me. Excuse me? Mum needs support right now. Her lawyer says Dad's trying to hide assets. It's going to be ugly. Tyler, we have 4 more days of our honeymoon. I know, but this is important. Family emergency. Your mother's divorce is not our emergency, I said, my voice dangerously calm. And I am not cutting short my honeymoon to hold your mother's hand through her divorce proceedings. Tyler's face hardened. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You don't care about my family. I care about our marriage, which seems to be the only one in this room who does. I moved to the closet and pulled out my suitcase. You know what? Go. Go home with your mother. Support her through this difficult time. What are you doing? I'm packing my things. I began pulling clothes from drawers, stuffing them haphazardly into the suitcase. You and Vivian can go back to Boston together. I'm staying here. Don't be ridiculous, Becca. I'm not being ridiculous. I'm being clear about my priorities. This is my honeymoon, and I intend to enjoy what's left of it, with or without you. Tyler looked stunned. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious in my life. I continued packing. I'll move to another bungalow. You can stay here until your flight tomorrow. You're really going to make me choose between you and my mother? I stopped packing and looked at him directly. No, Tyler, you've already made that choice. Multiple times. I'm just acknowledging it. His phone buzzed yet again. He glanced at it automatically. It's Mom. She wants to know if we've started packing. Tell her you'll be ready. I'm sure the resort can get you on the next flight out. Tyler stared at me, confusion and anger warring on his face. So that's it? You're not even going to try to understand my position? I understand your position perfectly. Your mother comes first. Always has, always will. I just can't be married to someone who puts me second. I finished packing my essentials and zipped the suitcase. I'll go to the front desk and arrange for another room. You can ship the rest of my things when you get home. You're overreacting. Again, this is just a rough patch. I shook my head. No, Tyler, this is clarity. Something I should have had before I walked down the aisle. With that, I pulled my suitcase toward the door. Tyler made no move to stop me. I love you, he said quietly as I reached for the handle. I paused, my back to him. I love you too. But sometimes love isn't enough. The walk to the front desk was the longest of my life, each step taking me further from the future I'd imagined and closer to an uncertain new reality. The staff were discreetly professional about my request for a separate bungalow, asking no questions when I explained that my husband would be departing early, but I would be staying. We have a garden villa available, the manager told me. It's smaller than your overwater bungalow, but very private. That sounds perfect, I said, handing over my credit card. It would be expensive, but I had some savings, and honestly, it would be worth every penny to salvage what was left of my trip. As I settled into my new accommodation, a charming thatched roof villa surrounded by tropical vegetation, I felt a strange mix of grief and relief. My marriage was likely over before it had really begun, but for the first time since arriving in the Maldives, I could breathe freely, without worrying about Vivian's next intrusion or Tyler's divided loyalties. I ordered room service that night, unable to face the prospect of running into Tyler and Vivian at one of the restaurants. As I ate on my private patio, watching the sunset alone, my phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. We're booked on tomorrow's 11 a.m. flight. Mum wanted to thank you for understanding. I still don't. Please reconsider and come home with us. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. The next morning, I deliberately slept late, avoiding any chance of a dramatic goodbye at breakfast. When I finally emerged from my villa around noon, I knew Tyler and Vivian would be on their way to the airport, if not already in the air. I went to the beachside restaurant for lunch, ordering a fruity cocktail despite the early hour. The server, a young local woman, smiled sympathetically as she brought my drink. Just one today? She asked. Just one, I confirmed, and it's perfect that way. She laughed, understanding more than I'd said. Enjoy your meal, Mum. For the next 4 days, I did exactly what I wanted, when I wanted. I went scuba diving again, took a cooking class, read books on the beach, and even went on that sunset cruise. Alone, but surrounded by the beauty of the Indian Ocean at dusk. I made casual friends with other guests and staff, sharing meals and stories without the cloud of marital drama hanging over me. Tyler texted daily, his messages growing increasingly frantic as I maintained my silence. Please talk to me. We need to work this out. At least let me know you're okay. Finally, on my last night in the Maldives, I responded, I'm fine. We'll talk when I get back to Boston. His reply was immediate. I'll pick you up from the airport. No, I texted back. I'll get a cab to my parents' house. That's where I'll be staying. The flight home was long and gave me plenty of time to think. I replayed moments from our relationship, seeing clearly now the pattern that had always been there. Vivian inserting herself into our lives, Tyler allowing it, me compromising to keep the peace. Our honeymoon had simply been the breaking point, the moment when I could no longer ignore what had been true all along. My parents were surprised but supportive when I called to tell them I'd be staying with them for a while. Mom had questions, of course, but Dad had always been sceptical of Tyler's relationship with Vivian, making comments about Mama's boys that I'd dismissed as old-fashioned. When I finally landed in Boston, exhausted and jet-lagged but resolute, Tyler was waiting at the arrival gate despite my instructions. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, hair unwashed. "Becca," he said. Moving toward me. "Please, just talk to me." "Not here, Tyler." I gestured to the busy terminal. "And I told you not to come." "I couldn't not come. You're my wife." The word felt hollow now. "I need space. I told you I'd be staying with my parents." "Just let me drive you there. Please, we can talk in the car." I was too tired to argue. "Fine, but just a ride." The drive to my parents' suburban home was tense, Tyler glancing at me repeatedly while I stared out the window at the familiar Boston streets. "Mum's really upset about how things ended," he said finally. Of course, that would be his opening line. "I'm sure she is. She didn't mean to cause problems between us." I turned to look at him then. "Are you serious right now? Your mother crashed our honeymoon, Tyler. She deliberately inserted herself into what should have been a private, romantic trip for us, and you let her. She needed support. Stop. Just stop." I held up a hand. "I've heard all of this before. What I haven't heard is you acknowledging that what happened was wrong. That you should have consulted me before inviting her. That our honeymoon should have been about us, not about your mother's divorce drama." Tyler gripped the steering wheel tightly. "I made a mistake, okay? I should have talked to you first, but walking out on our marriage seems like an extreme reaction. It's not just about the honeymoon. It's about the pattern. Your mother will always come first. Every holiday, every milestone, every major decision, she'll be there, influencing you, and you'll let her. That's not fair. I love you. I know you do. In your way. But it's not enough, Tyler. Not for me." I sighed, suddenly bone-weary. "I think we should take some time apart. Really think about what we both want from this marriage, if anything. Are you saying you want a divorce?" His voice cracked on the word. "I'm saying I need space to think. And you need to do some serious reflection on your relationship with your mother." We pulled up in front of my parents' house. I could see Mum peering through the curtains, no doubt wondering why Tyler was with me. "Please don't give up on us," Tyler said as I gathered my bags. "We can fix this. I'll set better boundaries with Mum, I promise." "I've heard that before." I opened the car door. "Take care of yourself, Tyler." The weeks that followed were a blur of uncomfortable conversations. Meetings with a therapist, both alone and with Tyler, and long talks with my parents and friends. Tyler called daily, texted hourly, even sent flowers to my office with notes promising change. Vivian, predictably, was on the offensive. She called my mother, crying about how I was tearing apart her family. She showed up at my workplace once, causing a scene that resulted in security escorting her out. She even tried to enlist our mutual friends to convince me I was overreacting. Through it all, I maintained my distance, using the time to gain clarity. Was I willing to enter into a marriage where I would always have to fight for my place? Where major decisions could be made without my input? Where my mother-in-law would be a third party in our relationship? The answer, increasingly, was no. 2 months after our ill-fated honeymoon, I met Tyler for coffee at a neutral location to discuss our future. He looked better than he had at the airport, rested, well-groomed, more like the man I'd fallen in love with. "I've been seeing a therapist," he said after we'd exchanged awkward greetings. "Talking about my relationship with Mom." "That's good," I said cautiously. "I've realised some things. About how unhealthy our dynamic is." He stirred his coffee absently. "I told her she couldn't call me more than once a day. She didn't take it well." I could imagine. "I'm proud of you for setting that boundary. It's been hard. She cries, she guilts me. But I'm standing firm." He reached across the table for my hand. "I want to fix this, Becca. I want us to try again." I didn't immediately pull away, but I didn't squeeze back either. "I appreciate that you're working on things, Tyler. I really do, but I'm not sure it's enough." "What else can I do? I'm trying." "I know, but this isn't just about your mother anymore. It's about us, about whether we're right for each other." I gently extracted my hand. The honeymoon showed me some fundamental incompatibilities in how we view marriage, family, and partnership. "People work through incompatibilities all the time," he argued. That's what marriage is. Sometimes recognizing incompatibilities early is the kindest thing you can do for both people. I took a deep breath. I think we should file for an annulment. Tyler looked as if I'd slapped him. An annulment? No, absolutely not. It would be the cleanest break. We've only been married a few months. We haven't combined finances yet. We don't have children. I don't want a clean break. I want my wife back. I'm not sure I ever was your wife. Tyler. Not in the way that matters. I kept my voice gentle but firm. You can't be fully committed to me when you're still so enmeshed with your mother. I told you, I'm working on that. And I believe you. But it's work you need to do for yourself, not for me or for us. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. I've drawn up the paperwork. It's straightforward. We each keep what we brought into the marriage. Tyler stared at the folder as if it might bite him. I can't believe you're doing this. I'm doing what's best for both of us. In time, I think you'll see that. He pushed the folder away. I'm not signing anything today. That's your right. Take time to think about it. I stood up, leaving the folder on the table. But Tyler, don't drag this out. It will only make it harder for everyone. As I walked away, I heard him call after me, his voice breaking. I love you, Becca. I paused, turning back one last time. I know. I love you too. But sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes you need boundaries too. 6 months later, our divorce was finalised. We'd opted for that route after Tyler finally accepted that I wouldn't be coming back. It was amicable, as these things go. We divided our few shared assets, returned wedding gifts where possible, and went our separate ways. I heard through mutual friends that Tyler had moved back in with Vivian temporarily while looking for his own place. That temporary arrangement had already lasted 3 months with no signs of changing. As for me, I took the honeymoon trip I'd always wanted, a solo journey through Italy. Eating incredible food, admiring beautiful art, and answering to no one but myself. It was healing in ways I hadn't expected, helping me rediscover who I was outside of the relationship that had consumed so much of my 20s. When people asked what happened to my marriage, I kept it simple. On our honeymoon, I realised it wasn't going to work out because he wasn't ready to put our relationship first. Most people nodded understandingly. Some shared their own in-law horror stories, and a few brave souls asked for details. To those, I'd sometimes share the full story, how my mother-in-law crashed our honeymoon, how my husband let her, and how that experience crystallised for me what the rest of my life would look like if I stayed. It was usually met with disbelief, followed by affirmations that I'd made the right choice. And I had. As painful as it was to end a marriage almost before it began, it would have been more painful to spend years fighting for my place in my own relationship. Always coming second to Vivian's needs and wants. Sometimes I think about Tyler and wonder if he's still working on those boundaries he promised to establish. I hope he is for his sake. Everyone deserves a chance at a healthy, independent life, even Mama's boys. As for me, I'm dating again. Cautiously. And you can bet I pay very close attention to how potential partners interact with their mothers. Some might call it a deal breaker, but I prefer to think of it as wisdom hard-won on a honeymoon gone terribly wrong. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left,